Happy Easter and welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule. I hope that you are all set for an amazing celebration of risen life. Here we are on Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2026, releasing this podcast for you. And no worry, because Eastertide lasts for the next 50 days all the way up to Pentecost, which happens to be on the Sunday before Memorial Day this year. And I want to spend a few minutes with this resurrection story that comes to us from the canonical Gospels. In particular, the fourth Gospel, often referred to as the Gospel of John. We have this incredible story that is captured, and we have to remember that the Gospel of John, according to the ways that we've studied it, we believe that the Gospel of John is the latest canonical gospel written that actually is, canonized, kept in the Bible. And it's somewhere between 100 CE, but possibly as late as 120, maybe even 150 CE, that this book was actually recorded in written form. So it is a well-developed story, and it's possible that there is an even more cohesive theology that is being worked out by those first followers of Jesus as they are living post-destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, and also some 70 to 90 or more years after this event took place. And there is a way that the Gospel of John's telling of Easter morning takes us all the way back to the beginning of the Genesis, the beginning of the story, where we have these two creatures that are created along with everything else according to the Bible's telling of the story. This is a way that the ancients were trying to pass on deep truth to us. And so you can imagine being around a campfire and wondering, how did this all come to be? And so the Gospel of John takes us all the way back to the beautiful garden. There is so much imagery in the Gospel of John and in the art that has depicted the Gospel of John, that this scene that's taking place when Mary the Magdalene, not because she's going with anointing oils, Mary the Magdalene is simply going to see the tomb. Now, there are two sites that it's believed that the crucifixion, burial, and resurrection of Jesus took place. In Jerusalem, there is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. I've been to it. It's this massive, ornate church that you kind of go through it, and there's a place where it's all a crucifix, as if this is the actual spot, and this big old slab of rock where this understanding that is where they laid out Jesus' body to wrap him in the linen clothes. And then there is a tomb, it's called, but it's kind of looks like a little tent in the middle of this amazing Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And it's believed that is the spot of resurrection. A couple of centuries ago, however, there was a discovery outside of the old city walls of Jerusalem, and the Anglican Church, I believe it is now to this day, is putting forth this the garden tomb, where it's understood that this is the site. It's literally on this rock formation that when you look at it, it looks like the formation of a skull. It's believed to be that would be where the crucifixion took place. It was actually on the way out of the main thoroughfare to Jericho, on the way out of the city. And we have the place of the skull, and then this massive side of a hill, mountain, whatever you want to call it, and it's rock. And in it there is a hewn tomb. It's believed to be the actual site of the burial and the resurrection. And there is this ancient garden that is in the vicinity of this tomb. The tomb is actually tucked away in the rock of this ancient garden, where there's even a wine press, and there are beautiful trees. I was able to go there. I've been to both Church of the Holy Sepulchre and garden tomb, and I was able to go there as the morning was just breaking, and the birds were like singing their beautiful songs, making melody. You could see all of the garden beginning to unfolding, and the beautiful olive trees. And there was a sense that, like, for me at least, this is it. This is the site where this amazing experience of risen life takes place. There's this way that the story captured in the Gospel of John takes us back to the recreation, the reflowering of all the world. In the Gospel of John, it's very clear that it is Mary the Magdalene who encounters who she thinks at first is a gardener, but then when she hears her name, when the risen Christ calls her name, Miriam, Mary, Maria, when he calls her name, she is ecstatically turned to great joy. There's this way that they come together, and Jesus is telling her, according to the English translation that takes place of the Greek that's there in the Gospel of John, it's as if Jesus is telling her, like, do not touch me. But a more accurate rendering of that translation actually would be, do not cling to me. And I heard an even like cooler way to think about this on the Working Preacher podcast. Shout out to them. Amazing work that Luther Seminary is putting out there every week, especially for those of us who are working preachers. And I heard on the podcast for Easter that there's this sense that one of the professors was like talking about how he like always heard those words, like, do not cling to me or do not hold on to me, as like a sense of like Jesus is overwhelmed, this reunification with his beloved, with Mary the Magdalene. And he has this sense of like, they're embraced in this amazing, like, heart to heart exchange of a hug. And he is saying like, don't cling to me, because it would be too painful for the risen Christ to have to leave that moment if Mary the Magdalene, like this disciple, this confidant, this spiritual teacher among his disciples, if she were to cling to Jesus, this risen Christ, it would be too painful for him to depart that beautiful reflowering garden. However you want to think about it, it's clear in the Gospel of John's telling of this story that the world comes back alive. In fact, Mary the Magdalene is there in the garden, and the Gospel is recording that she is crying, like she's weeping, it says. And maybe she's weeping because she's confused, or she's already in that sense of feeling joy, or maybe she is bereft. However it might be, for some reason, she has a sense to go back on the third day to that tomb, and it says in the Gospel of John, to come and see. She went to see what was taking place there at the tomb, as if she might have believed already that this resurrecting force was going to incredibly do amazing work in the reanimation. It's like this viriditas, this greening Spirit of God is coming back into the body of Jesus, and he is the risen Christ. She herself is changed in that moment when her name is called. She is turned from her mourning, is one of the ways we talk about it in the First Testament. The mourning gets changed into dancing. Her weeping is changed into joy. There is a way that her heart opens once again. And we can imagine these beloved beings who are in this intimate connection and are so grateful for the presence of one another. They're standing face to face. If you're watching this podcast on the video, you will see an image behind me of one of my favorite renderings. It's a mosaic. I'm not even sure where it comes from, but it's a mosaic, source unknown, of this moment, of this, what's often called the no limitandria, this do not cling to me. And in this rendering of this amazing story, Jesus is pointing directly at Mary the Magdalene. And Mary the Magdalene actually has her right hand over her chest, over the space of her heart, right in the middle of her chest, and she is reaching out to the risen Christ. There's this like amazing exchange of energy taking place between them, even in this mosaic, in this scene of Jesus being like, hey folks, look at her, she's got it. And her like showing the way, like the way to connect with the risen Christ is through the space of our awakened heart, through the spiritual eye of the heart. The energy of our heart space right there in the middle of our chest is a way for us to continue in that posture of Mary Magdalene to connect with the risen Christ. There is a way that this reunion takes place of these blessed spirits that are able to be in constant communion with one another. This way of the heart that Jesus is pointing to her in this image and saying like, hey, y'all, she's got it. This way of the heart is a way that can keep us in constant connection with God, that can then bring to us that anamnesis, this continual communion, which is what we claim happens when we come around the Lord's table together, that we are having this anamnesis is taking place, this constant dwelling with one another. It's this beautiful gift the way of the heart shows us. It's like when we move into the energy of our heart, we have the opportunity to be reunited with the beloved sacred heart of God that beats at the core of the universe, that is the energy of love, that recreates all things. So on this Easter Sunday, first week of Easter, I want to invite you to get yourself still for just a little bit. There's so much excitement and joy over Easter, even if we do not comprehend. Like, how could somebody be beaten, bloodied, all that stuff, breathe his last breath on the cross, and 3 days later, like, he's back in this resurrected being, that, like, the joy of what he said was going to happen has actually taken place, like, the hope of this new life that comes again and again and again. Like, how could this be? We may not understand it. That's okay. We have all of Easter to be like contemplating this, pondering this. Today and this week is a week to celebrate the signs of new life that always come. So get yourself in a position where your feet can be flat on the floor or on the green grass underneath you. Begin to awaken the soles of your feet so that you can maybe begin to feel that vibration, the little tendril of energy from the sole of your feet connecting down deep into this earth. If you're living in the Northern Hemisphere, maybe it's not happening right yet, but for those of us in Middle Tennessee, it's definitely taking place. The spring has come. The trees are in blossom. All of us are beginning to experience all of the pollen that several of us struggle with. But this is the season when like the bees are buzzing and the birds are chirping and the grass is growing, and it's like all of life is taking place once again after the drear and dread and despair of winter. Everything is coming to life once again. So with your feet flat on the ground, connecting deep into the earth, I want to invite you to place one hand over the center of your chest, this energy of your heart, and the other hand, if you'll take the right hand and have it extend high above your head, palm facing outward and upward, as if like reaching up to the sky. So we have a sense we're connected deep into the earth, and through the right palm, we're connected high into the heavens to the transcendent energy that is beyond us, this beautiful energy of God that is beyond our little being and is in all living things and is even grander and larger than all of that. And so we're connecting with that energy beyond us. We're aware that we are this vertical plane so that we can be about this embodiment of love in this world. So if you'll place both hands now on top of one another, palms on top of one another, and in the center of your chest, in the celebration of Easter, we want to take a deep breath. Hold it for a moment before you release it. And set the intention that your own heart will begin to open, like the tiniest bud coming forth, that it will begin to blossom, so that this sacred energy of God that is in you, this love force that resides in your being, is awakened, as if it's coming back to life, as if it is blossoming once again, as if the sacred heart of God that is this energy of love that is in the middle of your chest is opening once again, so that all can be recreated, so that new life will abound all around you. Let's take one more deep breath. Hold it a moment before you release. Now I invite you to take your palms, both of your palms, place them on your knees. Place the back of your hands on your knees so that your palms will be upwards. So we take another deep breath. And we ask this divine energy of love living within, this indwelling presence of God, to reveal to us right now just one way that new life is unfolding around us. Or maybe you even want to say one way that new life is unfolding in you. And in the quiet, we pay attention, we notice, we attune so that we receive. Through the energy of the heart, we're receiving a sign, a word, a smell, whatever it might be, a sound coming from outside of us or inside of us that is showing us one way that new life is unfolding around or in us. Let's take one more deep breath. As we release this time, if we will express inwardly some form of gratitude for what has been received. If this has not been a long enough pause for you, you can pause this podcast and continue in a time of stillness, breathing and listening, watching for one way that new life is unfolding around or in you. But if you're ready, it's the time to express inwardly gratitude for what has been received. Maybe you're even seeing yourself life, offering to the holy that lives in you, just like a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Some sign of gratitude. Maybe you're seeing yourself like putting a great big hug around love, whatever that would look like, putting a great big hug around the risen Christ. However you're expressing gratitude today. And then if you'll bring your hands, palms together, prayer pose there at your heart. Taking one more deep breath before you slowly release. And if you'll join me in a bow, and as we take this bow, we inwardly make the commitment to keeping before us what we have received, this one way, this one thing we're noticing that is unfolding, new life unfolding around or in us. When you're ready, you can open your eyes if you have had them closed. You can take in, if you're watching this podcast, this beautiful visual feast of the flowering of all of Easter. And I hope that you have an amazing week, all week long. Keep your eyes and your ears open. Be on the lookout for the new thing, the one new thing, or the many new things, the way that new life is unfolding all around you. Blessings for this first week of Eastertide, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Pause for Peace. Happy Easter.